excited every time this time of year rolls around because it means a lot of my favorite flower varieties become available again. And I love pairing fresh flowers with an old antique vessel. I just think the juxtaposition between the two is just so beautiful. But the problem with that is that a lot of times they don't hold water. And so when that happens, or maybe they do hold water, but I don't want to ruin them. This one doesn't hold water. Obviously it's really porous. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of clay. But what I always like to do, whether it holds water or not, just to make sure that I am making sure that I'm protecting it, all you have to do is get a smaller cup or a smaller vase that will hold the water. Put the water and flowers in. Don't eat that. No, don't eat that. Don't eat that. Put the water and flowers inside of that. Hide that inside of your beautiful antique one, and you've got, what is it, honey? And you are good to go. Me to continue showing you some of my projects. A lot of y'all had answered yes. If that ever changes, just let me know. The last thing I want to do is bore y'all. If you're watching us, we've been working on Silas's room. As I said, that's my youngest son's room. Some of you asked his age. He's 9 years old. And we are doing sort of a water / underwater themed room. And in each of the rooms, if you follow me, you've probably seen, I just love I just love adding pieces that I've made. Y'all have seen my bunnies or the chicken that I showed you a few videos ago. Are you gonna keep this for yourself? So I'm gonna have to make you one. But anyway, on the theme of the underwater room, I thought it would be perfect to make him, or actually crochet him, an octopus. When I found this pattern, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, baby. I just thought it was so amazing. It's got all the tentacles, and I'm almost finished, but the last thing I need to do is his eyeballs. So that's actually what I'm going to be doing today. I'm gonna try to find this pattern. If I forget, y'all let me know in the comment section and I will link it for you, but I'm gonna do my best to remember. I'm really bad at remembering things. But yes, so here's what we're currently working on at the moment. Just a little homemade gift from me to him. Like I said, I just love having, you like that? I just love having little pieces that I have kind of put my heart into in each of their little spaces.
So I tend to be a pretty impatient person, very much easily distracted. But when it comes to our home and building a very livable and comfortable space for my family, I'm very much okay with taking things slowly. Blake and I finished building our house about 5 years ago, and we still have quite a few rooms that are left pretty bare. Whichever project I choose to tackle next is really dependent on when and where inspiration strikes. And when that inspiration does decide to bestow itself upon me, I want to make sure that I am super intentional. I want to make sure that my design will stand the test of time, and maybe that I'll want to change the linens or the pictures a little bit down the road, but I want to make sure that the foundation of the space is something that I'm okay with for a very long time. I also want the foundational pieces to look authentic. There are areas that I've used barn beams from the 1800s, and there's other times that I haven't been able to find the correct amount or the exact colors that I'm looking for, and I'll have to sort of mimic the characteristics that I'm looking for. If you've been around our channel for any amount of time, it will be no surprise that I am absolutely in love with old homes. Unfortunately, our home is not old in any sense of the word, but I don't let that stop me in doing my best to create a space that looks and feels like it's got stories to tell. One of my favorite ways of doing just that is through the addition of ceiling beams. Of course, my go-to beam is authentically old and been around for a really long time, but when I'm not able to find that, be it from I can't find the right amount or the right size or even the right wood tone, then I like to go with a rough cedar. When I hang brand new beams and I'm wanting to look like they have age and they've seen many years, I always make sure that I round out the corners before I install them, and caulking is a must. I don't want my beams to look like they've just been installed. I want them to look like a piece of the home and as if they actually are just exposed and an integral working part. goodness. So I was super excited to wake up this morning, seeing the fog was just the icing on top of the cake. And seriously, every time I mention cake, I want some, but I digress. Seeing the complete room finally come together is just my favorite part of the process. It's also honestly a bit of relief because it's one thing to pick out all the individual pieces, but it's another thing to see the entire compilation combined together. It's truly up until that point that I can say mission accomplished and really be proud of the work that I've done. So one would assume if one were ordering a piece of furniture all the way from England, that person would at the very least check the dimensions of that piece of furniture before actually purchasing it. Needless to say, Silas's mattress ended up being way too large to actually fit inside of the bed. So the girls and I crossed our fingers and headed off to the store in hopes of finding one that would fit. But so I could feel like I at least accomplished something that morning before we left, I decided to hang at least one more piece of art. So let's talk about how this room design came about and what my thought process was like when I was putting it together. As I was talking about in my previous video, I don't normally like to do a theme per se, but for the kiddos, I do like to really allow them to take ownership of their space, and I want them to have a say in what goes into it. That said, Silas wanted a water and underwater themed room. That in mind, I headed off to the drawing board. Now, before I design any room, the first thing I like to do in my mind's eye is really consider how I want the mood of the room to feel. For Silas's room, I really wanted a light and airy vibe, but I wanted some moody undertones, and I wanted some of his accents to have a little bit deeper elements. I knew I wanted to bring in a lot of natural elements via wood. My hope was to find a natural wood-toned bed, and in the same vein, I wanted to add ceiling beams, which would also add in that department. As far as the moodier elements, I knew I wanted to bring in a deeper blue in some way. Because the rug is normally the most colorful thing inside of any room that I do, I wanted to find that first, and I knew whatever rug I was able to find that I would pull a lot of colors from inside of it. And this is a really great tip. When you're looking for some sort of inspiration for your room, find a piece that you absolutely love, be it a rug, maybe a colorful pillow, a piece of artwork, whatever that piece may be, draw from it your color inspiration. Once I found the rug, I set out to find bedding that would complement it. I normally like to bring in a bolder accent through the pillows and or the blanket I throw over the bed. That way, if I happen to get tired of the color scheme, I can easily change them out. I also always like to bring in lots of pattern and texture through my bed linens. I love mixing different shapes, stripes, checks, brighter solids. I personally feel the more pattern and texture you bring into your bedding, the comfier and cozier it feels. To me, it also gives off a very collected over time look. I never want any of my rooms to look like I did them all in one sitting. I want my spaces to feel very effortless and timeless. If this is the sort of look that you are going for as well, finding as many vintage and antique pieces can really assist you in that. In my opinion, the more old weathered furniture pieces and artwork you can find, the better. And going back to the rugs, don't be afraid to layer your rugs. Antique rugs can be super expensive and it can be really hard to find the exact size with the exact colors you're looking for. If you happen to be running into any of these issues, a really great tip is to buy a more affordable, larger rug and lay the more colorful antique rug on top of it.